If you guys watched my channel over the summer, you probably saw me tease a few epic water-cooled systems that I was getting parts together for, and today I'm happy to say that I'm going to be able to move forward with one of them. I actually have parts for both systems, or some of the parts for both systems out here in front of me. On my left, your right, is all the Corsair Hydro X series parts, and I have a system that I'm going to put together with that. It's actually going to be a micro ATX build. I am ready to go with it, except I don't have the case yet, so gonna still have to hold off on that one for a little bit. Here on my right, your left, are the parts for probably a little bit higher end build than that. This one is going in the Singularity PCs Spectre 2.0 case, and just these three parts here in front of me, motherboard and two graphics cards, are worth $3,500. $700 for the motherboard, about $1,400 each for these MSI Seahawk EK water-cooled RTX 2080 Ti graphics cards. So I have to admit I'm a little bit more excited about putting this one together just because it's so crazy high-end, and the case is finally here.
Excellent!
Oh god. Oh, jeez. Okay. It's killing my hand, man. It's killing. So this is the case that the Spectre 2.0 case ships in, because a case needs a case, especially if you're shipping from Australia internationally. They want to make sure it arrives in one piece, and so they give a very nice external case for it. Now, to be perfectly honest with you guys, we actually already took this out of the case because we wanted to give a first check when it first arrived. I did a behind the scenes video, which may or may not be up now, that you could check that out on. So that was our actual first look, but I packed it back in the box to consolidate things for one, but also so that we could bring it back here into the garage. So what I'm gonna do basically today is get it back out of here, peel off some of the plasticky stuff, give you guys a closer look at it, and then we'll take the main components there and do a test fitting, because one of the most important parts about building a system like this, at this level, with custom water cooling and everything, is just figuring out where the heck everything's gonna go. Yeah, there we go. Do you guys think this is the top of the case or this is the top of the case? Joe thinks that I have it upside down. I'm not completely sure about it. My thought is that you can lift this smaller piece off more easily, right? Maybe, like that.
My thought was you lift the big piece, that way this is exposed, it's easier to take out.
Well, either way. Here's the case. I repacked it, so it was originally packed a little bit better than this. But the first thing you see on top is actually a big piece of acrylic, cast acrylic, and they love the protective cover on it because this is a very exposed part. It's also going to be the main window that you're looking through at the inside of the case, so they want to make sure you can keep it protected throughout the build process and then do a lovely peel of that at the very end. Yeah, those are aluminum, not magnetic. Steel, aluminum. So we've pulled everything that was loose off of the case, and Singularity also hooked me up with some stuff like, hey, a Singularity shirt. That's nice. I will wear that. We also got the Paul's Hardware decal there, so that's real nice. And then they also did an etching of my logo right there, and that's on the main reservoir there for the pump, which is located down there at the bottom. Other accessories that they include are a sleeved fan extension cable, a sleeved RGB header cable, that is to connect. There's some RGB integrated to the case, I believe. They give you a spare O-ring for that pump, and then they give you a set of screws and everything. So they've got you taken care of when it comes to the basics for a computer case. But of course, if you're looking at this computer case, you're probably thinking that's a little different from what I typically see. What we're looking at here is steel and acrylic, primary for the construction, and all the pieces are individual, so they're all screwed on in different locations. They're using hex nuts mostly, with some aluminum and some steel screws, and they've also added manifolds in a couple different locations in the case. You can buy the case bare by itself, and then this is an extra manifold they put up here to help get you some of the routing of your tubing and routing of liquid through for your CPU, memory, if you got a monoblock there, for example. GPUs as well are going to sit right down here, so it'll be right above that. I need to figure out the best way to implement this, for example, as well as some of the other manifolds in the case, including this front one up here. And here's where, because I am a tech reviewer, I have to give a little bit of negative feedback, because this front manifold was added on. I'm pretty sure they put this on at the factory or where they assemble these. And I found some extra loose screws and nuts in the box, and that was actually from this. These screws did not get mounted on the back. So not a huge deal. They didn't fall off or anything like that, so there was no damage in shipping. But maybe just something to keep an eye out for if you happen to get one of these cases. One thing I'm definitely going to do pretty quickly here is go and get a hex nut on my screwdriver and just make sure that we're tightened down wherever there might be a chance that things aren't tightened down. Fortunately, most of the stuff is tightened, but let me apply those nuts real quick so that stops rattling around. So I guess what I actually have here is the Spectre 2.0 Elite, because these are the Spectre Elite manifold kits that they have pre-installed for me. This is the side manifold, which is an additional $250, and then the front manifold up there is an additional $550 on top of the base price of the case. They have also included a Singularity Protium. This is a Lang D5 base pump down here at the bottom, and that's also pre-installed in the pump mounting point for standard D5 pumps. Beyond that, you have a very open design, as you can maybe tell. Once that acrylic panel goes on here, there's still tons and tons of open space throughout the case, so your airflow is going to be pretty good, depending on where you position fans and everything. It supports 360 millimeter radiators, one in the front and one in the top, and there's plenty of space above and behind this one, so you can go with up to 60 millimeter thick radiators. If you take a look at the power supply cage down here, you can sort of see how the entire case is constructed pretty much. You have solid steel panels. They're all held on with screws, just little hex screws. So each panel could be individually removed, and Singularity will actually custom paint the case for you. If you want to, you can pay them to do it, or I've seen several custom builds already where just the ability to disassemble the entire case down to its core components means that you can do a really nice, clean, professional paint job on any of these panels. So you'd probably want to paint all the black pieces, and then of course the acrylic you keep clear. You usually don't paint acrylic. It's currently set up for vertical GPU mounts right here. They've pre-installed those PCI Express extensions as well. They kept the bottom of them still packed up in the packaging down there in the bottom, so I'm going to leave them down there so those don't have any chance to get damaged. And then your supports, or I guess what would be the edges of the case, are all held on by these posts that stick out, and then those posts all mount to this extremely thick back acrylic piece, which is very thick, as you can maybe tell. Over an inch thick, or just shy of 30 millimeters thick. I'm using the wrong side of this. Just shy of 30 millimeters thick, or over an inch thick, depending on how you like your thickness measurements to be measured. Hey, you could even include the motherboard tray, and then we're over 30 millimeters. Now, because this case is primarily made of acrylic and it's very see-through, they have helped you out a little bit with the cable management issues that you're probably going to have, because when you can look at a case from any angle and see the cables, it means your cable management is going to be fairly challenging. That said though, all the cable management has pre-routed gaps here that is going to be right behind where the power supply mounts. You got a nice wide one coming up here for your 24 pin, one coming out here for your graphics cards connectors, and then another one going up top there for, I think what they're assuming is going to be an 8 pin connector up there at the top, because this is probably going to be housing a pretty high-end computer, I would imagine. These are all G1/4 fittings wherever the manifolds have inlets or outlets. This is the Singularity one that you need a tool to go in there and remove, which is actually on there pretty tight, but that would be your inlet at the top right there. So you could effectively use this as a fill port, and then there's another one on the opposite side right there that would be your inlet from your entire loop. That would go down and fill this reservoir area down here, go to the inlet of the pump down there at the bottom. Pump's outlet is just below that. This is a pre-attached quick disconnect fitting, which I just really like down there at the base of the loop, which would be ideal for draining. And that's going to go up from there and then out the other side, and I'll flip the case around to talk about where it would go beyond that. While we're up here though, since everything is mounted to this main thick acrylic unit, the way that the top and front panels are held on are with these little L-shaped brackets. And again, those are mounted with screws, so you could remove those. They're these nice finished screws too that give it a cool finished look. And then you just have another panel across the top there that's going to work as your radiator brackets or exhaust mount, I guess, if you don't put a radiator on there. But if you're buying this case, you're probably going to put a radiator there, let's just be honest. Just for the record, I would normally remove that manifold first before doing this, but since it's just a test fitting, I'm hoping we'll be okay.
Why doesn't like to ask for help?
These are aluminum too. Oh, that's horrible. Oh no, these are also aluminum. All right, so Joe, I think I might need your help, just if you could get a screw threaded right there. Yay.
There you go.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, I gotta figure out my power
Wow, 3?
decision there.
Ooh.
All right, so potential memory conflict there. Just wasn't expecting that. All right, so we're gonna need to figure that out. And just like that, we have the main components installed. System's pretty much good to go. We're almost done now. That's not true. We barely started, and there's a very good reason why you should do a test fit like this, especially if you have the opportunity to get a hold of the parts maybe you're choosing, because compatibility when you're dealing with different parts from different manufacturers can vary quite a bit. These graphics cards in particular are based on the same PCB design that MSI used for their Lightning series of cards, and the reason they're sort of awkward is because they have this lower section here so it maintains the NVLink SLI support, and there actually is plenty of space down here to put an NVLink SLI bridge. So that's a good thing. The issue it's bringing up for us here is that because the PCBs suddenly go so vertical right here, it makes our terminal points for our connections, our G and a quarter connections here for the water block, up pretty high, which I don't think Singularity had in mind when they were designing this manifold right here. So as a result, they're very close up here. I'm sort of theorizing some ways I might still be able to connect that all up, but I'm gonna take some pictures and send to Singularity and see what they think or if they have any recommendations. If you guys have any suggestions for me, either to deal with this issue right here, or just in general when it comes to planning out the loop, where it's gonna come out from here, where it's gonna go to first. Should I like water cool the RAM for no good reason, but just because it's water cooling everything? Let me know your suggestions, your comments, your feedback down in the comment section down below, and I'll check that out and see what you guys have to say. In the meantime, I'm sorry I didn't get too far in the build today, but it was a very important first test fitting. I can now sort of take some measurements, get some more parts on order, and I'll be following up with part 2 of this build as soon as I possibly can, because it's a really cool looking one and I'm excited to get it put together. Lastly, what should I call it? Should it have a cool name? Should it be a continuation of an existing series of water-cooled builds that I've done in the past? Let me know that in the comment section down below too. While you're down there, if you want to hit the thumbs up button, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll post links to some of the hardware I've used today down in the description. We'll see you guys next time.